Thank you for taking the opportunity to meet with me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Got a card for you here really quick. There you go.
Thank you.
No problem. It was great to finally put a face with a name. As I was driving up, man, you have a beautiful facility.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You guys own this place?
Yes.
Okay. It looks fairly new.
It is.
Very good. Well, like I said on the phone, there's some important things we wanted to go over today, but the three major things is, and the ultimate goal really is just to figure out if there was any sort of profile alignment between your organization and mine.
Right.
You said you had heard of ABM briefly on the phone, but we can talk a little bit more about us in a little bit. And that's one of the major steps. We're going to talk about ABM, and we're going to talk about what we see in your particular market, the injection molding market, and some challenges and trends we're seeing there. And then we're going to talk about your organization specifically. Take a little bit of an in-depth dive as to what you're seeing, what you're experiencing, things like that. And after all that's said and done, we're going to be able to together identify whether there's any sort of profile and goal alignment if they meet up, and then we can move forward from there. You're going to notice that I'm going to be taking some notes here. This is just client profile. I have your company information here filled out. Basic questions that I'll be asking you throughout our meeting today. And I'm going to use this just to make sure we're staying on task. Let me grab my pen here. All right, perfect. So, just to talk a little bit about ABM, we are an international core facility solutions provider, and we are America's largest facility services provider. And what we really do is we pride ourselves in being one of one. The goal here is to be able to bring a full, wide gamut of things to the table that are going to have a wide variety of offerings, big breadth and depth. I had mentioned that we have several locations, and you had mentioned that you thought that you might have seen some different groups around town. We have 350 offices around the country, and that's important because while many people shy away from large corporations, you actually get the corporate structure and the great stability and great buying power, but yet you get the 350 branch local level services. And we've helped 15,000 clients to date, just like yours, help make their facilities green, clean, energy efficient, and move towards more of the sustainability realm. Did you have any questions or anything that you wanted to talk about on this page at all?
Yeah, so we're thinking about possibly growing as a company and moving to another state.
Absolutely.
That would be possible for you to help us if we decided to go with that.
Sure, absolutely. Did you have a place picked out? Are you going to stay in the Detroit metro area? Are you going to move?
We're thinking about expanding to a different state.
Oh, okay, great. Did you have anything in mind?
Not yet. We're still in the beginning works.
Make a note of that here. Perfect. And what kind of spurred that? Just out of curiosity, just kind of outgrowing this facility and looking to move to a different market, maybe where there's more profitability?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we had talked about, on the phone briefly, just some challenges and trends that your particular, the injection molding market is seeing. And there's a wide variety of different challenges and trends due to the fact that Michigan in particular has seen tried and tough times over these last few years. And facility operators and businesses in general have just frankly been asked to do more with less. And really that's just an overall trend that we're seeing in this particular area. And I think that most of the country is experiencing the same thing. I mean, we've gotten some feedback from some other organizations like the U.S. Department of Energy, for example. They've identified those same challenges as well. And really what ends up happening is that facilities get neglected because they're short on money. They don't have those dollars to put into the facilities. So you get a little bit the aging infrastructure, things like that. Was there anything on this page in particular, any one of these challenges or trends that really hits close to home for you?
Yes, the increasing energy and operating cost, and the reduced funding.
Yeah, has to do more with less. That's a common one that we see. Aging infrastructure in facilities. You had said that this facility was pretty new,
Right.
But who's to say that the things inside the facility aren't aging? But we have a process, we can take a look at that. Are you guys looking at sustainability, green initiatives at all? Is that a hot commodity or priority for you? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Now, just one of these kind of piques my interest here. Do you guys actually outsource a lot of your things here, or do you do most of your work in-house?
We outsource.
Okay, you do some outsourcing, and we've seen that a lot. I mean, people have, through these times, they've chosen to outsource because they don't want to take their own people. They'd rather allocate those funds elsewhere and, keep those people in the profit-generating portion of the business. Do you have a plan to address any of these concerns at all, or are you kind of just...
Not a plan specifically yet.
Okay. So maybe that might be part of the reason why we're here today. That makes sense. So again, some challenges and trends that we're seeing, and we work with a group, ASHRAE, the American Society of Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Engineers. It's kind of confusing, but hard to remember. But we work with those groups to kind of figure out. They help teach us some things. They help educate us about this market and about what we should be seeing. And one of the things that they tell us is we use this illustration to help explain that 5 to 10% of the money spent on this facility was spent during the design and the construction phase. So, you come in the room and you flip the light switch on just like we did just a few moments ago, and, your heat's blowing and things like that. That takes about 5 to 10% of the cost. But the real kicker is that about 90 to 95% of those costs are going to end up being hidden, kind of represented by this. Mm-hmm. That's going to come after the design and construction phase. So it's going to keep, to keep the facility going, it's going to cost you. So if we use a $100,000 example as the design and construction cost, that means about $900,000 are going to be thereafter. And a lot of times those aren't planned for. And you had just mentioned on the previous page that you hadn't really done a whole lot yet to set aside dollars or address some of those concerns. This is just a basic pie chart that just helps, again, ASHRAE just helps show us where some of these dollars should be allocated. It's important to understand that, these are directly related here. You said that you had done some contracted services. You said you had outsourced a few things. So maybe this portion will be a little bit larger. You had said that your energy costs, you're concerned about those. Maybe that's high. Do you guys monitor those costs today? Somewhat. And we see that's pretty common. It's becoming more and more of a priority, just with the rising costs, as you had mentioned. This here is what we do is take a 1-year snapshot of where your business is at today, and it helps us identify where there's room for improvement. And a lot of times what we see is maybe there isn't a need for heating and air conditioning in a specific space. Maybe the spot's been reconfigured. Maybe a tenant's moved out. So there's a lot of different opportunities there. You're using the space for a different task. There's a lot of opportunities for improvement. And what we'd like to do is add those dollars or those excess owning and operating costs back to the bottom line and then create opportunity and investment options. That's really the goal here. And again, just the ability to take a snapshot and then move towards investing those dollars, that's pretty important. This just really depicts a proactive strategy and a reactive strategy and the differences. I mean, obviously you can see the volatility. The space between these two lines here is really dollars. And that's a pretty big deal. The volatility that some of these companies experience, and maybe you're experiencing the same thing. You had mentioned your energy costs aren't really that stable. You might have some aging infrastructure, things like that. I mean, those are all valid concerns. And with your outsourced maintenance staff or some other staff that you might have outsourced to, maybe there's some major repairs that you have to come up with money for. And we really want to take that more towards a proactive strategy because it's less volatile. I mean, this is a flat line here. And there's a lot less risk involved with less volatility. And really the ultimate goal with the proactive strategy is to reduce maximize the return on investment for every dollar you spend in your facility. I mean, that's the ultimate goal. So again, this is a continuum, and everybody is located on this, and we don't really know where you are today. But what we'd like to do is maybe take a look. We have an investigative process that we can actually take a look at your facility and figure out where you are on this graph. Maybe you're here, maybe you're here. But really what we're seeing here is when you move towards a more proactive strategy, there's a lot less risk associated again. So is that process something that you'd be interested in today?
Yes, absolutely.
Just maybe taking a look at that. And there's a lot, there's a lot of questions I still need to ask.
Right.
But that was one of them. If we come through some facilities and they're doing a great job. I mean, they're already, back to this, 55% of people are operating on a reactive strategy. So the other 45 are acting on a proactive strategy. It's possible that you're one of the 45%, and if so, great. Kudos, because that's impressive. Mm-hmm. You're one of the minorities, so that's fantastic. These are just some quick examples of some area jobs that we've done. Some pretty recognizable names here. And to me, the major highlight of this entire portion here is this, down here in the corner. 100% referenceable. What that means to you is we want you to be able to call any one of our existing clients and customers and use them as a tool and ask them questions about their experiences they've had with us. We really strive for excellence, making sure we're taking care of all of our customers, and it's really important to us. So if you have any questions or wanted to call any of these clients or anybody else in your particular sector, we certainly can come up with some names and contact information for you to do so. Okay. I had mentioned that we were very process driven, mm-hmm. And we have a process pretty much for everything, and that's really why I like working for ABM, is because I'm a very process driven person myself, and this just helps keep us on task and make sure that we're moving in the right direction. So today, we're working on the evaluation process. I had written down some things in the client profile, and I'm going to continue to ask you some more questions after I'm finished up with this, just to make sure we got everything covered. And then we're going to move towards the analysis page. And actually, this will help me do a little bit better job of explaining this here. So initial meeting, that's today. So I'll just write today's date on here. This is our action plan. This is basically just a working schedule. So that way we make sure that we're aligned, we're all staying on task, we know when we're meeting, when we're not meeting. And the second step really is to use and get these owning and operating costs from you. I had mentioned that we take a financial approach to getting this figured out and seeing if there's any opportunity for us to work together. And one of the ways that we're going to do that is we're actually going to see if maybe you're the person, or maybe you have a right-hand person on the control, or like a controller, or on the financial side that can get us these energy costs, these contracted services costs, parts, materials. You don't have to worry about these last four here, so we can get these here. Okay. And that'll help us build out that pie chart that we had explained earlier, that ASH rate. Okay. Helps educate us on. What do you think? What kind of time frame would it take for? Are you going to take care of these, or are you going to give them to somebody else to?
I'm going to give this to Lisa.
Okay. Great.
She takes care of that.
Sure. Let me grab Lisa's contact information here.
Okay.
What's Lisa's last name?
Jones.
Lisa Jones. And what's her title?
Purchasing person.
Okay, so she's the purchasing director. She probably just kind of got that task to make sure she's keeping track of all this stuff, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. And what I'd like to do is just take a moment to have you introduce me to Lisa before we leave. That way, we have a little bit of a soft. And if she has any questions, she certainly can contact me. I'll give her one of my cards.
Okay.
All right. So, and then we need to come back. I'm going to come back and get these. So, what kind of time frame do you think Lisa would need to?
Probably just a couple days. Maybe come back on Thursday.
Okay, great. So I'm going to come back on Thursday and grab these from you, and I'll just kind of write that in between number 1 and number 2 here. Thursday, we'll come pick this up, and probably the afternoon probably works better for her.
Yeah.
Seems like you guys lighten up a little bit in the afternoon. Okay. Perfect. And then we're going to come back for a building survey. Do you have somebody on the maintenance side or the director of ops side, whoever, the operations manager, that would be able to take me and another gentleman around?
Yes.
Okay, who is that?
Ryan.
All right, Ryan. What's Ryan's last name?
Smithson.
Smithson. All right, Ryan Smithson. Perfect. And he is the director of operations then?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. And again, I'd like to just meet with him really quick if you didn't mind before I left. All right. And so you said you're going to have these to me on Thursday. We're going to come back and do the building survey after I get these from you. So let's plan maybe a week from Thursday. Will that work for you?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Morning or afternoon? You check your calendar?
No, I'm just going to put it in there.
Okay, great. Well, I'm going to give you a copy of this too, so that way you have it. But
okay.
Sure. All right. And then once we have that, I'm going to build out the pie charts. Like I said, I'm going to take an inventory of the equipment that you have at your facility. Again, like I said, we're going to bring somebody in with me that is more on the technical side, a technical expert, and just help make sure that we've covered everything. Then what we're going to do is come back for a verification meeting, and we're going to review the building survey. We are going to take a look at the owning and operating costs and basically give you a customized solution that really fits your needs. And we can tweak it and maybe find some things that you want or you don't want, etc. And then if all goes well there, we'll actually come back for a proposal presentation. And the proposal presentation is important. Do you guys have like a Monday morning meeting or a weekly meeting? Okay. Well, what we find best to cause the least confusion or interruption is that we actually come at the end of that meeting. Just the last little portion, and then it runs over just a little bit. Should take about an hour. But we want all the decision makers in the process. So yourself, the director of operations, and anybody else that you think might be involved in this decision. Right. Just because we want everybody there for their input. If anything needs to be changed, we want the whole entire feedback of the group. All right, great. And then, obviously upon acceptance, and if all goes well, we'll actually come back and do a CARE meeting, which is a customer review or assurance review and evaluation meeting. So just make sure we're staying on top of what we said we're going to do, and if there's any changes to the scheme, or if there's, again, you might be moving or there's new plans, etc., we can review those at that time.
Okay.
Perfect. And I'm just going to sign this here, today's date, and then just go ahead and sign that for me. And I'll give you a copy of that. There's that.
Thank you.
No problem. And I just wanted to ask you a few more questions here regarding your facility, and then we should be all set.